What's up, everybody? Saturday evening, just finishing up working on the Jeep. Thought I'd make a little video of it, kind of show you some progression we've made and where we're at on this thing. Shared a few pictures of the day, but thought we'd give you a little video on it when I had time this afternoon. But last time you seen it, we had it in pieces. Motor is back in it now. Does crank and run. Just a little few seconds cranking and running. There is no O2 hooked up right now on it. It does go to the exhaust shop Monday. Have the exhaust run on it, and he'll get us a bung welded in for the O2 sensor. At that point in time, we can start tuning this thing, get it running like it's supposed to. But we were able to go 30 over with the motor. It's got Speed Pro pistons in it, Speed Pro rings. It's got King main rod bearings in it. Did a kit from Comp, Comp lifters, Comp timing set, Comp valve springs, and a Comp, their little off-road 4x4 cam that they make for this motor in it. Had a lot of things powder coated on it, the valve cover, some front bracketry done on it. Got a Headman ceramic coated header on it. It's a one piece. I like it. It's not a split. It's a one piece header into a single collector. And the way they're going to do this is, good Lord willing, we're going to try and cut the collector off and put a V-band on it. It'll be a single 3-inch all the way out with a Dynamax muffler on it. So it should sound pretty good. Was able to make everything AN for the most part. All the heater hoses, the breather hoses on it are all AN fittings. We had to do some drilling, some tapping, to make some AN fittings work on it. I had to actually drill and tap the water pump to put a 3/8 to AN adapter in it. Little things like that, man. It's very time consuming. But refresher that it is a Holley Sniper EFI now. It's got the Holley Sniper EFI control box, the Holley Sniper coil, MSD's billet distributor for it. When I made these wires, it was on the engine stand, and I didn't know a whole lot about what I was doing as far as the setting the timing and all is. So now that I know how the timing's controlled with the touchscreen, I'm actually going to take these wires and shorten them way up, because once you lock the distributor down at 0, all the timing is done with the touchscreen. So I think right now it's at 9 degrees at idle, 15 degrees at startup. I think I got it at like 25 degrees at cruising, and maybe 28 or so or 30 at wide open throttle, I think. Don't hold me to those numbers. My brain's shot today. But yeah, I'll be able to shorten these wires up, man. It'll be a whole lot nicer looking. Waiting on a radiator to come in still. It's supposed to be here Monday. Champion out of Southern California makes a 3-row billet radiator for it. It will have a 16-inch electric fan on it. The electric fan is controlled with the Sniper. You're able to set the temperature, on-off temperature for it. I've put a relay down here for it to control the fan with, inline fuse for it to power all that up. And you can see before, I moved all the solenoid kind of off this fender well, kind of back here out of the way. That way it's a little cleaner look. But you have a 10-pin harness here from Holley that has all the wires for the outputs you can do and inputs with the Sniper. I depinned all of them but 2, because all I needed was a tack drive and the fan control. So got rid of a bunch of the wiring on this thing that's not needed. Pretty much the only thing on it right now is your headlights, turns, stuff like that, and some wiring under the dash for AC control, heater controls, which we don't have right now. None of that works. So, like I said, we did do a new flywheel, new starter also. But with it being EFI now, an in-tank pump now, all the ignition, fan, everything, we went ahead and jumped the 60-amp factory alternator. Went with a 160 Power Master. So it's a 160 amp Power Master alternator on it now. That way it can supply everything. All the power we need to power everything up on this thing with no problems whatsoever. I've had to redo every ground wire on this thing. They're all made. The wiring for the fan, I've got everything plumbed. When the fan comes, or the radiator comes in, we'll put in. Make sure we took everything and clamped it down to the frame, good, and sturdy that way, and nothing's moving around. Much deeper than I initially planned on this thing, but it kind of kept growing. Everything kept falling apart on it. So, but got all the gauges working inside the vehicle now. Only thing left to work is the sending unit for the fuel tank level. Hopefully this Holley one matches up with the resistance wise for the factory, because I really want to use the factory fuel gauge on it. We did do altimeter, pretty much everything else. I am waiting on do a tack on it. The factory tack works. I got it working today, but it's so brittle and plastic. It actually had studs in the back of it that are brass, and they actually so brittle. You touched them, it pulled them out of the back of it. So there's no way to mount it properly. But all the gauges are on working. We'll make all the rest of them change and match. Try to change the lighting out, the LED and all the others when we do. That way it matches. But other than that, we're just waiting on exhaust to be run next week. Radiator put in it. Burp the system and start doing some tuning on it, let it drive around. And I say do some tuning, it'll pretty much do it all for me. I'll make sure the idle air control gets adjusted, and the TPS and all does it all by itself beyond that though. So I think that's pretty much everything up top for the most part. We had to do some different stuff with the fuel line. I wanted to run a steel line up to it. I just couldn't make it bend and look right, so we ended up keeping everything braid all the way back. It does have an inline filter in the back. I've showed you that before. Real quick, till I show you, it's pretty neat the way they set this throttle body up. It uses the factory throttle bracket and cable, so it all works off the factory bracket. I am going to go back and cut some of this stuff off that we don't need on it. Just kind of trim it up and clean it up a little bit. To get rid of some of that. We're going to change the master, like I mentioned before, we're going to change the master cylinder out, get rid of all that rusty master cylinder, probably the steering link and all, kind of clean all that up to match the rest of it. Winch wasn't working, got it working, used Rough Country's little universal control pack, hardwired. Then I got to order some boots to slip over these to protect them a little nicer. Keep these boots style here to go over them to protect the ends of those where nothing touches it or arcs out on it. Let's throw it up in the air and we'll look at what we've done on the bottom side of it. I did post some pictures of the day, but we'll go ahead and do a little video showing it all to you a little nicer. So it does have a lift on it when we acquired it, but everything was worn out on it for the most part. So I did a little research on it, found out what brand lift it was, did some measurements, and Skyjacker, like I mentioned before, helped us pick out all the correct shocks for it, steering stabilizer for it, and everything. But we'll start here on the outside axle here. The wheel was about to fall off this thing on both sides. You could actually set it down off the lift and the wheels would pop because they would kick out. Bearings were completely shot. It actually had galled the spindle, but not too bad. I was able to take some emery cloth and polish both of them up pretty good, and everything, looks nice, cleaned up nicely. But new bearings, we reused the hub. It's really hard to get hubs for these things. It's really weird. I'm a little old school, but not this old school. The stud actually presses from the backside and presses through the hub, not the rotor. So the stud just tightly goes through the rotor, but it presses into the hub itself. So that was new for me. Learned something new. I thought that was pretty cool. Brand new pads. Just kind of painted everything up, cleaned everything, rusted everything up, painted the hub. It was rusty. Repacked everything, rid of some of everything. The lockers, you cannot find a gasket for this thing. If somebody knows where one is, let me know. It's a 5-bolt. It had silicone on it whenever I did it, but I actually used Toyota's transaxle sealant, which is good for like transmissions, differentials, stuff like that. So it was a really good sealant that I used on it. So we'll probably be fine, but I would love to have the paper gasket that would have bolted on it. There's an O-ring inside of here. I changed that out too. I say an O-ring, it's like a little crushed rubber washer. I changed it out also. Kind of keep water from intruding in this thing right here. All the tie rod ends are new. Drag links new. Everything steering wise for the most part is new. The only thing I haven't done yet is I want to do a drop pitman arm on it. I started to do it the other day, but you can tell where it looks like somebody's had problems with the thing at one point in time. So I'm going to take a day when I feel like it, and we'll put some heat on it. And I don't see any scarring where they actually try to pull her on it. I'm guessing they tried to beat it off, best I could tell, with a hammer. So we'll take the nut off, put some heat on this thing with a torch, and put a puller on it and see if we can pull it off. That way it'll come down and drop down and drop the steering down a little better. That way it get rid of some binding in it, make steer a little easier maybe, hopefully. But kind of coated everything. We still have to grease everything. All the alamites, I got them all cleaned off the tips, couldn't clean everything. Come back through and grease all the new ones also. It does have a quick disconnect sway bar and links on it now. Why not? They were just as much as a regular sway bar and a link. I thought they looked pretty nice. Kind of set off the Jeep look. It does have new sway bar bracket bushings also. They're energy suspension. They match some energy motor mounts too. We put energy suspension motor mounts on this thing. The other ones factory ones were just powder when we took the motor out of it. But same thing on this side. Everything's repacked, new bearings, new seals, new rotor, but reuse the hub, the caliper, and everything. New pads. And look at this. This is the first thing that stood out to me when I did this, and I caught it. I'm like, man, this is weird. But how the piston actually sticks out past the pad. Only about 3/4 of the piston touches the pad. So first thing I did, I went to Google, went to researching, and apparently I'm not the only person that had that question. It's pretty common. That's the way they were built. That's the way the TJ caliber was set up on it. Did some treatment POR 15 on the frame. Wire wheeled it the best we could, cleaned it up real good, and cleaned all that up. Tried to neutralize what little surface rust we had. Had a couple bad spots here. I was able to wire that down real good and clean. Treated it. It should be fine. Changed out some of the body mount bushings. Still got a few more to change out. We'll show you the fuel line set up on it the best we can. It's kind of dark underneath there. I don't have my light with me. But maybe you can see it. So it is braided, like I said, all the way. It's braided line. I use these little wires, top clamps, what they're made for, but I used it to support the wiring for the fuel pump and the fuel line itself. It does have a Fuel Lab 10 micron inline filter on it. It's all AN fittings. Ignore this wire here hanging down. That's the factory radio wire. The radio is actually inside the center console on these things. Or this one is. I'm not familiar with enough to tell you if that's all of them or not. But the wiring goes up to the floorboard. I'd removed it that way. I kind of knew what was mine and what wasn't mine when it came to wiring. But fuel line all the way to the back, follows the frame up, mount it to the bottom side of the body. Matter of fact, it's a Tacoma diff drop spacer I used to drop it down enough to kind of give me a little slack. We had to use a new skid plate on the tank. The old one was rotted out, of course. So it's a new skid tank on the plate, on the tank. That's Holley's in-tank, 15-gallon in-tank pump tank. It's got their pump inside of it, sending it, whatnot. I put brand new filler neck hoses on it, vent hoses on it also. The back half of this frame was repaired. I've showed you that before. Nice little kit we found for it. I'm gonna do the back, same thing to the back half. I'm gonna sand everything down, grind everything down. We're gonna coat it really good, kind of get rid of the rust. There's one or two more spots on the frame. It's not the best. There's one right here, but I think we're gonna be okay. I'm gonna wire wheel that down, POR 15. I believe it'll be okay. There was a spot over here. It was in bad shape. I just took where it was actually split. You can't hardly see it probably. I took and ground it down and put a piece of plate metal in there and welded it around right there. Just a fix. I mean, it's there. It'll be good. Doesn't look the greatest, but it's definitely do a hold. So, barring having to buy a complete frame for this thing, which is not something we want to do, most definitely. This thing's supposed to be an off-road toy, but it's turned into a little more. But real cool. I've learned a lot about Jeeps that I didn't know. The only thing that I did know before is I don't like them. So you start, they're a pain when it comes to the drivability issues with them and stuff. So from working on them standpoint, they're terrible. Trying to fix an issue that may arise on them, but for the most part, this one here is going to be really, really solid, I believe. Good to be glad to see what kind of power it makes. Fresh motor. It was running on about 4 cylinders before, so it should be a lot better off now. One more thing that before I forget also is, you may have seen it earlier in the video, I replaced about every bolt on this thing with stainless Allens. And, you can look at the oil pan here. Every one of them's all stainless Allen bolts. Timing cover. It's a brand new timing cover from Dorman on it, that are stainless. I'll let it back down, kind of show you some of that real quick up top before I shut the video off. I'm going to bolt the wheels on it before I leave, and we'll take it to the exhaust shop Monday. Got Will over at Amco's going to come pick it up on his rollback for me. Winch it up on the rollback and take it over there for us and drop it off, and then Jay can knock it out really quick. He done a truck for me the other day, and he said, I have done a couple of days for you, and then about 3 hours he called me and said, got you finished up. So I look forward to him knocking it out. But I'll show you real quick, the valve cover bolts. They're all, Allens, Allen head bolts. That thermostat neck there, only one of them that is a stainless bolt that I bought to match to make sure it's stainless. But the one that came with the kit was not long enough. All the header bolts, they're all Allen, which, man, these inside ones right here, having been an Allen, makes it so much easier to tighten them. I mean, so much easier to tighten them. I use the factory style washers on these things. That way you've got uneven surface that washer pulls on the header and on the intake, to give you good. I don't hear any leaks right now. It is open header. I don't hear any leaks, and it very well could be. I don't know. We'll find out when I got some exhaust on it. We can actually hear what's going on. So other than that, stay tuned. Hopefully we'll make a video next week driving this thing, hopefully in the next week or so. And it's been a long project. We kind of work on it between other projects with a little bit of time we have. But stay tuned, and hopefully for next time I'll make you a video of the CJ7 taking a cruise down Gravel Pit Road back behind us. So everybody have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.